I met Liam 3 months ago, the day he moved into the spare room of the apartment I'd been renting alone for over a year. He came in with a duffel bag, a crooked smile, and a voice that didn't match his build. Soft, almost cautious, like he was always measuring his words. I told myself it didn't matter that he was handsome, or that he walked around the flat shirtless half the time. He was straight, and I had made peace with wanting things I couldn't have. We fell into an easy rhythm. He cooked on Tuesdays. I took the bins out. We watched movies on the couch, but sat just far enough apart for it to mean nothing. He was endlessly curious, asking questions that made me think he saw through more of me than I intended to show. I tried not to overanalyze it. Straight guys could be kind, could laugh at your jokes, could touch your arm mid-conversation. None of it had to mean anything. Then one Saturday morning, as the heat crept in through the open kitchen window, he leaned over the counter with a grin. "You're tall. Help me clean my windows?" I blinked at him. "Your windows?" "Yeah," he said, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. "Too much city grime. Figured today's a good day for it." He wasn't wrong. The sunlight made the dust glow, turning the streaked glass into a canvas of fingerprints and smudges. I followed him to his room, telling myself it was just a favor. Just something roommates did. Still, when he handed me the cloth and leaned in close enough for me to smell the citrus of his soap, my pulse quickened. We worked in silence for a while, standing on opposite sides of the same pane. Occasionally, our eyes met through the glass. He'd make a face and I'd laugh despite myself. His shirt had come off somewhere between wiping the sill and complaining about the heat. I kept mine on, but rolled up my sleeves, suddenly hyper-aware of my every movement. There was a moment, brief but sharp, when we reached for the same corner of the window. Our hands brushed. Neither of us pulled away. He looked up at me, and, for a split second, something in his eyes changed. Curiosity, maybe. Or something dangerously close to understanding. Then he chuckled, stepping back. "You missed a spot." I exhaled, not realizing I'd been holding my breath. As I wiped the remaining streak, I glanced at him again. He was already facing the other way, humming softly, shoulders relaxed like nothing had happened. But something had. And though I didn't know what it meant yet, I knew the day had shifted, quietly, irreversibly, toward something I wasn't ready for, but couldn't stop wanting. The air between us changed after that day, though neither of us said anything. Liam went back to his routines, morning runs, late-night video calls with friends I never met, casual jokes that danced on the edge of flirtation. But for me, everything had shifted. I caught myself watching him too long, listening too closely, waiting for moments I used to ignore. I hated how much I noticed him now, how he'd run a hand through his hair when he was tired, how his voice softened when he talked about his childhood dog. He was everywhere, without trying. One evening, a week after the window cleaning, Liam walked in with a bottle of cheap wine and 2 plastic cups. "Let's drink. I need a break from being responsible." I raised an eyebrow. "Isn't tomorrow Monday?" "Exactly. We'll keep it light. 1 glass, maybe 2. He flopped onto the couch, patting the spot next to him. I hesitated, but curiosity, maybe something more, pulled me forward. We drank slowly, the conversation shifting from light to something heavier. He talked about his ex, a girl named Marley who had broken up with him 3 months before he moved in. Said, "I didn't know what I wanted," he muttered, staring into the cup. Did she mean about the relationship or in general? Both, probably. He smiled without humor. She always thought I was chasing something I couldn't name. I nodded, unsure what to say. The silence between us thickened, not awkward, just charged. He turned toward me then, eyes serious in a way that sobered the room. "Can I ask you something?" I braced myself. "Sure. Do you ever think..." About kissing someone you're not supposed to? The question hit harder than I expected. My mind blanked, then raced. Did he know? Was he playing with me? Or had something really shifted beneath the surface? I think everyone does, I said carefully. It's human. Liam stared at me for a long second, then looked away. Yeah, human. We didn't talk much after that. He turned on a movie, something loud and forgettable, and we both pretended to watch it. But I wasn't following the plot. I was watching the way his fingers tightened around the cup, the way his jaw clenched just slightly whenever our knees brushed. When the credits rolled, he yawned and stood. I'm crashing. Night, man. Night, I replied, heart still thudding. The door closed behind him, but his question lingered in the air. It wasn't just words. It was a confession hiding in plain sight. I lay on the couch long after he'd gone, the taste of wine fading, the silence growing louder. That night, I dreamed of him for the first time. Not the Liam I knew, casual, distant, but a Liam who leaned in without doubt, whose hand didn't pull away. And when I woke up, I wasn't sure which version of him hurt more. Rain fell in slow sheets against the windows, soft and steady, like the world outside was whispering a secret it didn't want us to hear. The apartment felt smaller with the storm, warmer, dimmer, quieter. Liam sat on the floor with his back against the couch, legs stretched out, a half-empty beer bottle resting loosely in his hand. I sat a few feet away, knees drawn up to my chest, trying not to look at the way his shirt clung to him after running through the rain on his way home. He laughed, glancing at me. You look like you're bracing for impact. I smiled faintly, just listening to the thunder. We talked. Nothing important, nothing heavy, until it wasn't. The conversation veered, like it always seemed to with him, into a space I didn't expect. He asked what I thought people regret most. I answered too quickly, not saying how they feel. He looked at me for a long moment, eyes unreadable. You ever regret not saying something? I hesitated. Every day. His gaze didn't waver, but something in his posture shifted. Not exactly closer, not exactly away, just still, as though he was afraid any move would shatter the moment. I felt it too, the fragile weight of something unsaid pressing between us. I wanted to tell him. I wanted to reach across the carpet and touch his hand, his shoulder, anything that would make this confusing closeness feel real. But I didn't. Instead, he leaned his head back and closed his eyes. I think I kissed someone once just to feel something. The words echoed like a confession, half swallowed by the rain. My heart pounded. I didn't ask who. I didn't need to. Did it help? I asked, voice low. He opened his eyes, met mine. For a second. Silence stretched again, brittle and charged. Then, without warning, he shifted onto his knees and crawled the short distance between us. My breath caught. He reached up, slowly, as if giving me time to stop him. I didn't. His hand rested on the side of my face, fingers tentative, trembling slightly. He kissed me. It wasn't confident. It wasn't smooth. It was searching, soft, broken in places. And I kissed him back. Not out of impulse, but something deeper. Something aching and long buried. When he pulled away, he didn't speak. His eyes searched mine like he was waiting for something neither of us could name. Then, just as suddenly, he stood, walked to his room, and closed the door. I stayed frozen, lips still tingling, heart somewhere between wonder and dread. I had wanted this for so long, dreamed of it behind closed eyes and buried truths. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like a wound in disguise. And for the first time, I wondered if I'd crossed into something I couldn't come back from. The next morning arrived quietly, too softly for what had happened the night before. I stood in the kitchen, stirring a spoon through lukewarm coffee, unsure whether I was waiting for Liam to wake up or hoping he wouldn't. The silence pressed in, thick with hesitation and the echo of a kiss I couldn't forget. He emerged eventually, barefoot, hair a mess, eyes avoiding mine. He moved through the space like a stranger, saying nothing at first. My chest tightened. I tried to appear calm, casual, but every nerve in me was bracing for the worst. An apology, a denial, a retreat. "Morning," he said finally, voice rough. I nodded. "Hey." He poured his own coffee, not looking at me, not acknowledging what had changed between us. It felt like a dream now, his lips on mine, the way his hand had rested on my cheek like it belonged there. I almost convinced myself I'd imagined it, until he finally spoke again. "I shouldn't have kissed you." The words stung more than I expected, not because they were cruel, he didn't say them harshly, but because they were careful. Too careful. "I didn't ask you to," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I know, that's the problem." He leaned against the counter, finally meeting my eyes. And in that moment, I saw everything he was trying to bury. Confusion, guilt, something close to fear. But beneath it, there was something else too. A truth he hadn't named yet. A pull neither of us could deny. "I've never kissed a guy before," he said softly. But that didn't feel like a mistake. My heart lurched. Then why does it sound like one? He looked down at his hands, then back up. "Because I don't know what it means, and I don't want to hurt you." Figuring it out. That was the betrayal, not the kiss, not even the silence after. It was the wall he'd built between us with one uncertain sentence. I wanted to be patient. I wanted to tell him I understood. But I also wanted more than half-truths and blurred lines. I deserved more. "You don't have to know everything." "Right now," I said, quieter than I meant. "But you don't get to pretend it didn't happen either." He nodded slowly, a war waging behind his eyes. "I'm not pretending." I finished my coffee, set the mug in the sink, and stepped past him. "Then don't disappear on me." I walked to my room, closing the door gently behind me, not in anger, but in protection. Of myself, of the feelings I could no longer hide, and of the space he clearly still needed. Outside, the rain had stopped. The sky, washed clean, held the soft promise of something not yet decided. And I couldn't help but wonder if this was an end, or just the beginning of something real, uncertain and worth waiting for.